Hello everyone, welcome to today's session where we're going to look at the poem On His Blindness by John Milton. This poem was written in 1655 but published in 1673, and since Milton lost his eyesight at the age of 44 in 1652, so while composing his poem in 1655, he titled this poem as When I Consider How My Light is Spent. But 100 years later, this man Bishop Newton, it was this man Bishop Newton who titled this poem On His Blindness. So after this, let's have a brief look on the form and structure of this poem. If we see the structure or form of this poem, then this poem falls in the category of Petrarchan sonnet. This is a Petrarchan sonnet composed in iambic pentameter in the rhyme scheme. This is a typical rhyme scheme of Petrarchan sonnet, which goes thus: A B B A, A B B A, C D E, C D E. So these all technical terms, Petrarchan sonnet, this rhythmic pattern, iambic pentameter, and this rhyme scheme, these all technicalities I have already discussed in my previous sessions, the link of which I am providing in the description below, and I encourage you to watch those lectures because these are the topics which are also prescribed in your syllabus. So let's begin the text. This poem On His Blindness expresses Milton's profound faith in God, and when he was writing this, as I have told you, he lost his eyesight at the prime of his life at the age of 44. Then initially he felt utterly disappointed and despair. So in such a state of mind, he pens these lines. He pens this sonnet where he says, "When I consider how my light is spent." Here he is saying that when he thinks that how his light here is for eyesight, spent is lost. So when he thinks that how his eyesight is lost now, and it is lost ere half my days in this dark world and wide, and my eyesight is lost before even before half of my age is over. Ere here is for before. Ere is archaic word. Archaic words are those words which has become obsolete or outdated now, but which were once used very widely in the English language. So here and nowadays we use before instead of ere. So this ere is archaic word. Before half of my age is over, in this dark world and wide, as Milton has gone blind, he can't see, so the world is appearing to him very dark. So he's saying that when I think that how my eyesight is lost now, even before half of my age at the age of 44 is over, in this dark world and wide, in this wide world which is appearing dark to me, and that one talent which is death to hide, and that one talent. So here talent is indicating, by talent he is indicating towards his poetic ability, and which he thinks that or which he believes that this talent is bestowed upon him by God. It is a gift of God to him, and this talent now as due to his blindness, now this talent which is death to hide, now this talent will remain with him only because he is now not, he feels that he is now not in the position of making its proper use, and it will render useless. As if I read this full line, and that one talent which is death to hide, lodged with me useless. Lodged means kept. It is useless now. It has made me useless because I can't serve God now by my poetic talent. So he's saying at that one talent which is death to hide. Here death to hide means now this talent will go with me in my grave. This talent would go with me in my grave because I can't make the proper use of this creative sensibility which has been gifted to me by God. So, and that one talent which is death to hide, lodged with me useless. Now it is kept with me useless, though my soul more bent to serve there with my Maker. Though So here he's saying, though he has an ardent desire, he is very much eager, his soul is more inclined to serve, to render his service um, uh, to his maker, to his creator, to God, by writing, by creating a grand poetic creation, poetic piece, in the service of God, in the praise of God and his ways. But as since he has become blind, he is helpless, and he is also feeling useless as well, because he feels that now he is no more of any use, or he has also fear. What fear he has now? If we read the next line, so I hope that you have got this line. Though my soul more bent to serve there with my maker, and present my true account, lest he returning chide. And present, I want to show my true account, means I want to show that I have properly utilized all the gifts given to me, bestowed upon me by the creator, by God. I want to present, but I can't present my true account now. And I have also this fear that lest he returning chide, that when I would return to heaven, when there will be my return to heaven, and while my returning, God may chide, God may reproach, or God may rebuke me, because I have not made proper use of my talent, lest he returning child, that while my returning, or when I when I go back to heaven, I have this fear that I will get a rebuke from God for not properly utilizing my talents, my creative poetic sensibilities, which is a gift of God. Doth God exact day labor lie denied? I fondly ask. Now here this word fondly means foolishly, and here as now he is in this intense state of despair and anguish. So now all the doubts and inhibition and all his apprehensions, he is overpowered, he is overwhelmed with such negative emotions that he himself is admitting that I am asking foolishly, I'm raising question, I'm questioning, I'm doubting over God's justice by asking this foolish question, that doth God exact day labor lie denied? Here doth is again archaic word, which I have told you that these words are outdated, obsolete words. So nowadays we use does instead of doth. So what this question means, he doth God exact, here exact means demands, requires. Does God requires day labor, physical labor from a man who is light denied, who has been deprived of his eyesight? So he now these all doubts are overpowering him, that it is unfair on the part of God that he is expecting a physical labor from a man who is light denied. Does God exact day labor light denied? I fondly ask, I ask foolishly. Now here at this point, it is important to note that we have completed 8 lines here, and since this sonnet is a Petrarchan sonnet, and if you have attended the session in which I have described this sonnet, Petrarchan sonnet, I have told that Petrarchan sonnet is divided into 2 parts, octave and sestet. Octave consists of 8 lines, whereas sestet is of 6 lines. So here these we have completed 8 lines, and after 8 lines, when we are about to enter in sestet, or when we begin sestet, then we find a turn in the mood and tone of the poem, and this turn is called volta, because usually, and in this poem especially, what is there, octave usually poses a problem, and sestet offers a resolution or solution. So in octave we have very well perceived that what is going on, a dilemma, conflict. Milton is full of fears, doubts, and he has his own apprehensions and fears that he has become now useless, he will not be able to render any service to God, and there is his fear. He is afraid of the reproachment by God, and he has also doubt over justice or God's justice. So these all problems have been posed in octave already. So octave poses problem, and in sestet we always find resolution. But this transition from octave to sestet, when we are about to enter sestet, then this turn is named as volta. So there is a volta from this yellow, I have highlighted this, but patience, there is a volta in this ninth line. Now let's resume our reading. But patience, to prevent that murmur, soon replies. These doubts were momentary, as now he is getting his reply from patience, from contentment, from the quality, which is the quality, the attribute, the good quality, patience. And here if you notice, then this word patience, this quality patience, is personified here, because patience is replying, patience is acting as a human. Personification here in patience, this literary device, personification is used, and personification is a literary device which is used for dealing or for giving inanimate or objects or things, or inanimate objects human qualities, inanimate objects or attributes. So here patience is an attribute, is a quality. So patience is replying here. There is a use of personification which I have discussed in detail in one of my previous sessions. The link is already provided in the description box. So patience is replying here, personified patience is replying here, to prevent, to stop this murmur, as these continuous and slow voice from this continuously, these all questions are going on in the mind of Milton. This murmur, this slow and continuous voice from his soul, to prevent this continuous murmur, patience replies. What patience replies? God doth not need either man's work or his own gifts. So there is a reply that God does not need either man's work. God does not require any work done by man, or he also does not require any expression of the gift given by God to man, his own gifts. God doesn't require his gifts, or God doesn't require the expression of his gifts which he only gives to man. Who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. So here what Milton is conveying, that who best bear his mild yoke. Here this word yoke is a biblical reference, as in Bible this image of yoke is for God's will. So who bear his mild yoke is mild, yoke is God's will, and God's will is mild. So here there is an indication that the God's will is not so harsh or difficult, it is mild. The thing only man has to do is to accept that, or without any complaint or grumbling. So here Milton is conveying that who accept God's will without any grumble or complaint, he serves him the best. It is the best service to God, which in which man shows, man expresses his faith in God's will, that God's whatever God will do, that will be best for him. So who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. His state. So I hope that this now the dilemma is gradually evaporating, or gradually there's a resolution in Milton's mind by thinking over these things, that God does not need either man's work or his own gifts. Who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. And now in this way his whole mental turbulence is subsided by this realization. Next, His state is kingly, thousands at his bidding speed, and post over land and ocean without rest. His state, now in praising God, Milton is saying that his state is very royal, as thousands of angels, now here thousands is for angels, thousands of angels are keep on flying, as there is a post over, means they are appointed. Thousands of angels are already appointed over land and ocean, who keep on flying and who keep on working without any rest, who keep on working incessantly at his orders, or in to carry out God's orders. Thousands of angels are already working incessantly. So there is no matter of work. And what matters is that will, or that faith, that belief, that trust in God's will, that his will is the best will for man. They always serve who only stand, and they also serve. Now they, who are they? There is a first category of angels who always on their toes for God's command, and there is a second category of angels who always who are waiting, who only stand and wait, who are waiting or eagerly, or who are always standing and waiting in order to get commands from God, and ever ready to carry out his orders, who are who have patience. Here there's an indication that who have patience in God's will, who are patiently waiting and standing and at the God's will, to in order to carry out the orders, who are not as Milton has lost his eyesight, so there is an indication that he should also have faith in God, and he should stand and wait, just like the second category of angel, and their service is also not less valuable than the first category of angels. So this is what this autobiographical sonnet on his blindness, and as Matthew Arnold calls Milton's sonnet, Milton's style, grand style. And we can also find this sublimity of style, and also thought. There's a dignified thought and style we can perceive in this poem. There's a certain sublimity, and that's why Matthew Arnold calls his style grand style. And this sonnet has a universal appeal, in which there is a very well or very beautiful depiction of Milton's philosophy of faith in God's will. So that's all for today. Thank you for your attention.